Welcome back. In this video we will talk about the menu bar. We have started working on our GUI and we did a very brief introduction to Tkinter. So we have built a very basic graphical user interface where we start our root, we have the title at the top, we adjust the size, we introduce frames, labels and buttons, and we keep the main loop running. Next we have to talk about menu bars. This is a very basic menu bar. So I start by defining a new variable, I call it menu bar, which refers to a class menu which lives on root. So in this case, I specify the file menu, I call this the file menu, and then I add various commands. I just start with a very basic menu bar where we just have one command which is simply starting a new game. At the moment, I have nothing defined yet, so I just use the command do nothing. We have spoken about commands in the previous videos. If you haven't watched that, go back to it. It explains why we don't have open and closed brackets after the command. And now, of course, we have to kind of define this. It's just a dummy function. And later we will start adding more into this. So these are all the functions we need. So these are functions basically for our graphical user interface, and they have to be defined before we use them. Yeah, they can also be defined in a separate file if we wish to do this later. So I just call this do nothing, open close brackets. And we could do a parse, so that would be fine. So you can just type in parse, or we can also print something to the terminal just to check whether it's working. And I just simply state do nothing. Good, let's get started. We have a file menu. So in here I refer to menu bar, which we just created here in line 37. The Tearoff, we will see this in action in a minute. I set this to 0. I will show you later how this can be modified. And then I add a new command which has the label new. So this is basically we start our game, and then I link the command do nothing to it. Then you see here a modification for our root. So I change here the config where I specify the menu refers to my menu bar object. Good, let's run it and see what happens. And I run it. We still have our label. We have the frame and we have the exit button, but nothing else happens. So we forgot something, as always. So file menu has to be added properly. So we need this additional method. So that should fix it. Let's run this again. And here we are. So now we see here our file menu. Click on this and we have new. And you see do nothing. Good, so that's the basic structure. Already mentioned before, the Tearoff, we can now specify 1 and you see what happens. You can play around a bit. And now when you go to file, you see this little Tearoff here, so this dashed line. If you click on this, tear off your menu. So that might be useful or might not be useful. Personally, for my little game, I don't really think it's massively useful, so I will remove that and I just specify this as equal to 0, which will simply then start straight away with my first command, which is the new command, and so on. Good, so now we have a super basic structure in place. What I would suggest is to get rid of the things we don't need at the moment. So I would just comment these out. And the next step is I just will fill up all the different names for the different commands, but at the moment we don't have any functionality. We do this in a later step. So here I completed the file menu, and you see one additional little thing which is sometimes nice to do. You can add a separator, which is nice to separate the exit command. And here we already know how to exit. We just use the destroy method on root. We have done this in our previous button. So now when we run this, we have here our file menu, and you see we have new, nothing happens. We have save, nothing, and load. And we have exit, and you see the separator. So that's quite nice. And exit should simply close our GUI, and it works just fine. Now I just add all the others. So here we are. So now we have our basic structure. We have a menu bar, we have file, we have investment, we have the bank, we have the guilds, and everything is working fine. Of course, nothing really happens. The only thing which I haven't mentioned yet is the possibility to have these sub-menus. You see the little arrow here where you can buy different things and sell different things. So these can be done quite easily in Tkinter. And I'll show you in a second how this is achieved. So basically what I do is I have these submenus. So you start here the investment one, so that's the main one. And then below that I specify here the buy menu and the sell menu. And these submenus have then below them the various options to buy, farm, mills, whatever. Yeah, but otherwise it's the same structure as before. You just have to make sure that you link it properly using the add cascade method, and you link it back to your respective submenu. So you see here the buy submenu or the sell submenu. But otherwise it's exactly the same principle. So that should be all for this session. In the next one we start building some functionality. So of course it would be sensible to start with starting a new game. I see you there.